Hi everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. For those watching for the first time, welcome. My name is Dan Pardo, and this is the 10th episode of Pardo's Turn, my weekly Wednesday web series where I analyze a classic show tune from a music director's point of view, and with the help of a special guest, perhaps shed a little light on what makes the gems of our musical theater canon so great. For our first double-digit show, I am so excited to introduce Ben Davis, who is about to star in Irish Rep's production of On a Clear Day, and is known for his Broadway turns in Violet, A Little Night Music, Thoroughly Modern Millie, La Boheme, and 2 incarnations of Les Mis. He toured across the country as Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music, and has been seen around the world in various operatic baritone roles, including Petruchio from Kiss Me Kate at the Fifth Avenue Theatre in Seattle, and is a part of the 2014 BBC Proms telecast. Petruchio's signature song in the show is "Were Thine That Special Face," a seductive appeal to the character of Catherine, who, in Cole Porter's Play Within the Play, centered on Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew, is not only a character who declares she hates men, but is also Petruchio's salty ex-wife in real life, who does such things as commemorates the anniversary of their divorce. But unsurprisingly, she still has feelings for him, evidenced by her song So in Love. This song, Were Thine That Special Face, appears just before she discovers that a bouquet of flowers delivered to her dressing room door were actually intended for the young ingenue. So at least for the audience, tensions are high because we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. The song, therefore, is not a simple love song. It's darker, sexier, and more complex, living mostly in the minor mode with a sophisticated assortment of chords that seem to break out just as the melody makes a provocative leap. Were thine the form so lithe and slender, were thine the arms so warm, so tender. We seem to modulate into a friendlier major key on Were Thine a Kiss Divine. Were thine the kiss divine, but at the last moment, the long note is harmonized by this minor 7-flat-5 chord, a double suspension over the dominant pedal. Dramatic. The A section is repeated, but this time, after the melody runs up the scale, we actually do resolve to the parallel major of B-flat, just in time for the bridge. When all these charms are thine, then you'll be mine, all mine. Since this is musicalized Shakespeare, Porter's lyric has a certain level of decorum throughout. Were thine that special face, clearly. But in the bridge, it goes a step further, with the character of Petruchio waxing poetically, and doing so in a manner that's very self-aware. I wrote a poem in classic style. I wrote it with my tongue in my cheek and my lips in a smile. It's set in a very operatic recitative, which is when the tempo gets free, the singing becomes conversational, and the accompaniment basically drops out, playing tonal landmarks that trigger the next half-sung phrase. Then, cue the Beguine. Cole Porter has favored this Latin dance rhythm throughout his career, famously penning the tune Begin the Beguine in 1935, which eventually found its place in the lesser-known musical Jubilee. It's kind of a hybrid dance with influences from both Caribbean folk traditions and French ballroom dance, giving it both an alluring edge and a certain formality, which works especially well here. The melody, which we've heard twice before, is now superimposed on top of this Latin feel, amplifying the already seductive melody and harmonization. Give it a big ending, and in certain productions, a dance break, and we've got ourselves one hell of a number. Hey Ben!
Hey, how are you?
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, here we have probably our first official Broadway baritone on Pardo's Turn, which is exciting. Talk to me about, what's it been like being, this dying breed?
I know. It's so funny. I did a concert version, a semi-stage concert of Knickerbocker Holiday or at Lincoln Center, and one of the reviewers said, some very nice things. He said, it's a shame that there's no use for them today in Broadway. And it's just, it's true. It's just, we've kind of been written out of things a bit.
Do you think that speaks more to the composers kind of phasing them out, or the audiences kind of being more drawn to higher tenor? I don't understand, because then
I
you're a
know.
baritone,
Yeah.
it's like, that voice is so amazing. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, right for them.
I really don't have an answer for that. I mean, of course, pop music has had its influence, and that's what's kind of kept things going higher and higher. I
Right.
mean, even from the Beatles on, I mean, voices just kept getting higher, and as theaters trying to emulate pop music rather than pop music emulating what Broadway has brought to it as it used to in those days, we've seen things creep higher and higher. But I think there's such value to the baritone voice. Mark Kudish, I did a show that he kind of co-wrote called Baritones Unbound, which is like the history of the baritone voice up through today. And it used to be the voice of the everyman. In Golden Age, it was closest to a conversational tone as you could get.
Right.
And I think what the baritone voice can bring is great storytelling. And I hope that there's a return someday to see the value of that. And the juxtaposition of say you have two guys in there and you have whatever happened to the baritone, a real baritone and a tenor. I mean, well, you have Secret Garden maybe that has that, but a lot of times they'll cast two tenors in that. And there's, sure, tenors can sing that or sing this, what we're going to sing today. They can sing, but I think that there's some value to be had from a voice that has a little more richness and depth to it.
Yeah. So, as a baritone, you make your bread and butter singing these classic roles. In terms of your own personal taste, is that where you love to live, or is it kind of happened by default?
I wonder, I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but obviously I gravitate towards that type of music because there's more for me in that.
Right.
I mean, I love some of the stuff that's being written today, but I think the stuff that stands the test of time does so for a reason, and it's because there are beautiful melodies and the words and lyrics and everything that are written, and I think there are those writers out there today, but I really enjoy that time period where you had these characters, because it isn't only the music, it's the characters that go with them,
right?
And they're such rich characters.
So you've done Violet and productions of JCS, are those pretty much as contemporary as you've gone?
Yeah, I didn't think I'd ever do Jesus Christ Superstar, but I did, and I loved it. It was so much fun, and I think because it's such a departure from what I usually do, and it's hard, anytime in any field, especially in the entertainment industry, they want to put you in boxes.
Right.
And I'm happy to live where I live because I think that it's something that needs to be served, and I think I can serve it. But it's nice to be able to go out and step outside of that and say, oh, I can do this too.
Great. So right now, you're about to step in at Irish Rep for On a Clear Day.
Yeah.
Want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's this quirky little show, the music is spectacular, it's beautiful, and the book has always been problematic. And they've done a new adaptation down there that kind of takes it and shrinks it down a little bit and truncates some of the storylines in it and focuses it really on myself, Dr. Bruckner, and Daisy Gamble, played by Melissa Errico, but it leaves intact that beautiful score.
Yeah.
And we're doing it unamplified, which is so it's a lot of fun to be able to do that, and I can't wait. I start on Thursday. I start performances.
Great. As an operatic baritone, do you do a lot of, or relatively speaking, a lot of roles unamplified? Because anymore, you have instrumentation in it that have electronic, whether it be an electronic keyboard or whatever, and anytime you start putting one thing through an amplification, you have to kind of do it for everything, right?
Including the voice. So I think that, audiences are so used to being able to sit back and have the music come at them right now. And the things that I've done, like at Town Hall, I've done some of those acoustic concerts. And it's fun because the audience does have to kind of lean forward a little bit, and it maybe engages them a little bit more.
On the other side of the spectrum, what's the largest venue you've sang in?
I mean, the Muni in St. Louis, the Hollywood Bowl, those were two outdoor. I don't know if Royal Albert Hall, I don't know how many that seats, but that was pretty damn big. Yeah. So those are, and I think Muni's 11,000.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the bowl is, but that's a spectacular place too, because it's just pushed back into the mountain, kind of like the hillside there.
How much of a learning curve is it to perform for that many?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where you have to like make a motion when you're gonna do something. But at the same point in time, you don't want to lose intimacy and you don't want to lose truth. And the thing that Baz Luhrmann was so great about in Beguine was he always used to work very cinematically, and he would talk about close-ups. Mm-hmm. He'd say, okay, this is a close-up. And he always said that truth will read as far back in the house of 2,000-seat Broadway theater, you know, at the Broadway. He said, it'll read. You don't need to amplify anything but the truth inside of you to do it. So that's kind of what you do, and you don't want to play too much to it, or else it just becomes a little hokey.
Right. And for the Royal Albert Hall, that's when you did Kiss Me Kate.
When I did Kiss Me Kate, yeah. That was it was singular and an amazing experience.
How did you get involved with that group?
No idea. You know, there's a guy named Larry Moore who's an orchestrator and stuff. And I guess John Wilson, who's the conductor, they were having a problem finding a Brit who could do it. And because we're a dying breed, so nobody even trains to be a baritone anymore.
Right.
So he said, do you have any baritones over there? And Larry has been such a huge proponent of mine, and I can't thank him enough. And he suggested me. And then I just had to send a tape over to the BBC to get approved by them. And found myself over in London doing that and rehearsing for like 3 weeks for a one-night performance. It was broadcast live on the radio. It was recorded live for BBC TV that they then broadcast. This took place in August, late July, August. And then they broadcast it live on television Christmas Day. So it was a lot of pressure on one night to know you didn't get any takes. And
well, it looks fabulous. It sounds great.
Thank you. It was that orchestra. You know, there's something. John's orchestra has been with him for 20 plus years. So when he says, "Okay, guys, I want this sound," and he drops the baton, they just do it. And he's so fantastic stylistically and everything. It was just a lot of fun.
Well, I'll try and be as orchestral as I can
You're
today.
Fantastic. You're fantastic.
Want to sing it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great.
O'er thine that special face, the face which fills my dreaming, o'er thine the rhythm grace, o'er thine the form so light and slender, o'er thine the arms so warm, so tender, o'er thine the kiss divine, o'er thine the love for me, the love which fills my dreaming. When all these charms are thine, then you'll be mine, oh mine. I wrote a poem in classic style. I wrote it with my tongue in my cheek and my lips in a smile. But of late my poem has a meaning so new, for to my surprise it suddenly applies to my darling, to you. Thine that special face, the face which fills my dreaming, thine the rhythm and grace, thine the form so light and slender,
So thank you so much for coming on again.
My pleasure.
Check out Ben on a clear day down on 22nd Street at Irish Rep. And if you like what you heard today, then subscribe, like, comment, share, and I'll see you next week on Pardo's Turn. Bye.
In the form so lithe and slender, behind the arms so warm, so tender.